and man, buddhi and ahankar. These beings are under control of the modes of material nature. These acts of creation do not bind me, O Arjun, because I remain indifferent and unattached to those acts. So creation happens, sustenance happens, destruction happens. It doesn't bind God. All that play is going on. It's almost like we have a TV screen. Sometimes there are news are being shown, or we watch some kind of a good talk on it, or when we watch some game on it or a movie on it, doesn't matter. Screen still stays the same. Only the images change. The same thing he says, these acts of creation do not bind me, O Arjun, because I remain indifferent and unattached to those acts. The divine Maya, with the help of material nature, Prakriti, creates all animate and inanimate objects under my supervision. Thus the creation keeps on going, O Arjuna. So he's like a supervisor. Things are happening because the rules have been set up by him. And then he only watches. He does not interfere. Until something really happens, when he sees that there's a need for me to come down here and do something about it. Otherwise, he just only watches, doesn't interfere. Ignorant persons despise me when I appear in human form because they do not know my transcendental nature as the great Lord of all beings and take me for an ordinary human being. And because they have false hopes, false actions, false knowledge, and delusive qualities of fiends and demons, they are unable to recognize me. So if we have a tamasic or the rajasic state of mind, we really cannot connect with God. We got to have some purity, some level of purity. So when he says false, it's like they keep on having false hopes, means worldly hopes, worldly actions, only worldly knowledge, no divine knowledge, cannot connect with God. But great souls, O Arjun, who possess divine qualities, know me as immutable, as the material and efficient cause of creation, and worship me single-mindedly with loving devotion. So if we are seeing only the Maya or the Prakriti and don't see the divinity in it, he says that's a vain life, false life. But when we see the divinity in this life, when we bring some purity into our life, all those divine qualities, then he says, those are the great souls. Persons of firm resolve worship me with ever steadfast devotion by always singing my glories, striving to attain me and prostrating before me with devotion. And always remember again, devotion is a love for God. Okay, so firm resolve, worship me. Okay, some worship me by acquiring and propagating self-knowledge. Others worship the infinite as one in all, as the master of all, and in various other ways. So, in other words, to develop a relationship with God, there are so many different ways. So that's what he's mentioning over here. Some do it this way, some do it that way. As long as they are creating and cultivating more and more love for me, they are my devotees. Remember from last chapter, chapter 7, all the way to chapter 12, they are about devotion. It's called a Bhakti Yoga. So idea is over the Bhakti, the devotion. That's why you see worship word, or a devotion word, or love for God again and again in these chapters. I am the ritual. So how can we bring the divinity into every action of ours? He says, no matter which ritual you do, it could be morning and evening prayer, or it could be doing a big fire ceremony. He says, I am the ritual. I am the sacrifice. I am the offering. So, in other words, never forget God. Do not just do the action for the sake of the action, but remember God at that time. I am the herb. See, whenever we do the fire ceremony, we are always putting some herbs in there. So you can see that this ritual of doing fire ceremony, the Havan, the Yajna, is ancient. In the Vedas, they mention it. In Bhagavad Gita, they mention it. In Ramayana, we see it. And even these days, we do it. So herb which we put in there, okay, which is called in common language, Havan Samadri. I am the mantra. Because if we are doing a ritual, there's some mantras recited because they are the glorification of God, or we are thanking God, praising God. I am the clarified butter. We use the butter also for the Agni. I am the fire and I am the oblation. So all the things we use, that's God. All the actions we are doing, that's God. I am the supporter of the universe. The father, the mother, and the grandfather. I am the object of knowledge, the sacred syllable Om. He says, that's my name. I am the Vedas. I am the goal, the supporter, the Lord, the witness, the abode, the refuge, the friend, the origin, the dissolution, the foundation, the substratum, and the immutable seed. I am that seed which does not die after sprouting. So all these things, these are like three verses over here, verse number 16, 17, and 18, where he is enumerating that all these actions which you do not forget God in them. I give heat. Where do we get the heat? Ultimate source of heat is sun for us. So he said, that's what I am. I send as well as withhold the rain. So the clouds are also I am. I am immortality as well as death. I am also both the eternal absolute and the temporal. O Arjun, the supreme being has become everything. The doers of the rituals prescribed in the Vedas, the drinkers of the nectar of devotion, whose sins are cleansed, worship me by doing good deeds for gaining heaven. As a result of their meritorious deeds, they go to heaven and enjoy celestial sense pleasures. So some people do the rituals so that they attain, they get a better future. So he says when people do the rituals like that, they definitely attain it, but then they come back. But that's not the goal of life. Goal of life is beyond that. Because you do good karmas, you have the effect of those good karmas. When those karmas are finished, then you come back again. So he says the goal of life is so that you don't come back again. So doing the rituals, he's not saying don't do the rituals, but don't do the rituals for the sake of reward. Okay, that's a kind of a, again and again, several places before also, we saw this message by Lord Krishna. So he's not putting the rituals down. He's just only saying that do not do the rituals for a certain result. Do it because you're supposed to do it. They again return to the mortal world after enjoying the wide world of heavenly pleasures. Upon exhaustion of the fruits of their good karma, thus following the injunctions of the Vedas, persons working for the fruit of their actions take repeated births and deaths. Okay, so these two verses, they go together and conveying the same message to us. I personally take care of both the spiritual and material welfare of those ever steadfast devotees who always remember and adore me with a single-minded contemplation. Single-minded contemplation means you are doing your duties, you are doing the rituals also. Only thing in your mind is not the fruit of your action, but God. That is a single-minded contemplation. It's not that sitting and only thinking about God. So doing your duties, remembering God. So he says, I take care of both spiritual and material welfare. That means I provide for them too. I take care of them also. Okay. Oh Arjun, even those devotees who worship the deities with faith, they also worship me, but in an improper way. Okay. Deities over here means, suppose I worship some form of God where I think I should have more wealth or more worldly knowledge or more physical strength. He says, you are asking for something from these powers. Actually, it's coming from me. It's coming from me. So he says that's an improper way. So improper way means you are not going to attain the highest if you are not connected with the highest at the time of your action. Because I, the Supreme Being, alone am the enjoyer of all sacrificial services and Lord of the universe. But people do not know my true transcendental nature. Therefore, they fall into the repeated cycles of birth and death. Worshippers of the celestial controllers go to the celestial controllers. The worshippers of the ancestors go to the ancestors. Worshippers of the ghosts go to the ghosts. But my devotees come to me and are not born again. And again, worship means love. And love is always from the heart and the mind. Where your mind is, that's where you will go. So if in our mind we have our ancestors, or if we have these elemental forces, that's where we'll go. If in our mind we have God, then sure, at the end of this life we'll go to God. So that is the secret he is going to, he's getting at. Okay. Whosoever offers me a leaf. So now he's telling us how to worship him. Because whenever we go to our altar, go to the temple or a church, we always have some medium to worship God. Whether we have a plate in our hand or a fruits or the flowers, that's how we show our love to God. It's almost like if I want to give a soup to you, I'll put it in a bowl. And bowl could be made of different material, but container is needed to contain something. So this is what he's mentioning over here. Whosoever offers me a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water with devotion. Because these are some of the things we use when we show our devotion to God. I accept, he says, and eat the offering of devotion by pure hearted. So he's putting a condition. He says, I do accept whatever you are bringing it. I do accept it. But love has to be there and the heart has to be pure. If heart is not pure, if you're not giving me with love, you could be giving me a lot, but with arrogance. He says, I don't accept it. That's the point he's making over here. It could be just a water. Water is easily available. Just giving a water to God. Or plucking a little fruit or a flower, anything small. But the love and the pure heart has to be here. Okay. Then he says, oh Arjun, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer as oblation to the sacred fire, whatever charity you give, whatever austerity you perform, dedicate everything as an offering to me. So it's not just going to the temple or morning, evening prayers only. He says, whatever you do, whether you're cleaning the floor or doing a surgery, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer as oblation to the sacred fire, when we put something into that, we are doing the yajna and putting something in there, whatever charity you see, these are some of the common things we do several times a day, or some things we do once in a while. So, but whenever you do, dedicate everything as an offering to me. So that really means that fruit of that action It's not in your mind. You're just doing it for God. So that means when the result comes, if the result is good, don't jump up and down. I did such a great job. Don't pat on your back. And if result is not good, do not get depressed either. You did it for God. When somebody says that you have done a good job, just do not, your ego should not boost up. And if the result is not good, somebody says you did a filthy job, still stay humble. Okay? So only then we have done it for God. So doing for God, that's what it means. You shall become free from the bondage. If you can do this, all your actions like this, you shall become free from the bondage, good and bad. Bondage could be with a good karmas as a golden chain. Bondage with a bad karmas is with a chain made out of thorns. But he says, you shall become free from all the bondage, good and bad of karma, and come to me by this attitude of complete dedication to me. So this is the secret. See, it's not a secret that it's only for somebody. It is secret, or it's so subtle that everybody cannot practice it. It is so profound. But this is for everybody. The self is present equally in all beings. Very profound statement Lord Krishna is making. The self means soul is present equally in all beings. There is no Mahatma and there's no Duratma. There's no big soul or small soul. There is no godly soul. Every soul is a part of God. There's no old soul. As people say, so old soul has come to our house. There's no old soul. There's no young soul. Those are just things uttered with a different context. Okay? But self is present equally in all beings. There is no one hateful or dear to me. But those who worship me with love and devotion are very close to me. And I am very close to them. If even the most sinful person resolves to worship me with single-minded, loving devotion, such a person must be regarded as a saint because of making the right resolution. Because sometimes we question ourselves that I have done so many bad deeds, I made so many mistakes. God is not going to love me. He says, even the most sinful, even if somebody thinks I have done so many bad deeds, but next word is very important, resolves to worship me. He has made a resolve in his mind that I'm going to love God only. With the single-minded. So all these words are very, very key words. Worship me with single-minded, loving devotion. Such a person must be regarded as a saint. He becomes a saint then. Because he has started to walk on the path of sainthood. Because the resolve is strong and it's right. Such a person soon becomes righteous and attains everlasting peace. So that is the outcome. When we start walking on this path, peace starts to flow. Be aware, O Arjun, that my devotee never falls or fails to reach the goal. So once you have started to walk on this path single-mindedly, loving God, now you are doing all the actions for God. He says you'll never fail to reach the goal. And this reaching the goal could be right away, reaching the goal could be after this lifetime, or reaching the goal after countless lifetimes. Having faith again. You remember they started out with the faith. There were two disciples. They were sitting near Guru. They both asked Guruji, will we ever reach that goal? And they were serious students. They did a lot of tapasya. So to one disciple, Guruji said, looking at you, the level of your austerity and the worship and the love for God, you'll have to take 2 more births, then you'll attain it. He started crying and cursing and using bad language. I have done so much. It's going to take 2 more lifetimes for God to come to me. And he just ran out of that ashram. And to the other disciple, Guruji said, look at the tree. Can you see how many leaves are there? Countless leaves. He says, that's how it's going to take you to attain that perfection. He said, really? I will attain that perfection. I will see God. He started jumping up and down with joy. That I will really, after that many lifetimes? You know what happened? God appeared instantly. Because that happiness, that faith, that love for God really extinguished all his karmas. God came and he became one with God. So faith. So such a person soon becomes righteous and attains everlasting peace. Be aware, O Arjun, that my devotee never fails to reach the goal. Anybody, including women, merchants, laborers, and the evil-minded, can attain the supreme abode by just surrendering unto my will with loving devotion, O Arjun. So over here, women does not mean a gender women. And merchant doesn't mean just a businessman. Laborer doesn't mean who are in the service class. What does it really mean? It's like women normally they are attached to their children so much. Too much attachment. So he says anybody who's so attached to the children, if they just redirect that attachment to me, or a merchant who is so mentally attached to the money, but change their mind and get attached to me, or even laborers who are generally, they'll do the work only when they get some kind of a profit from it. If you don't pay them, they won't do the job. If the boss is not standing there, average labor, they won't do the job properly. They say, even that person starts doing work for me, are evil-minded, if they change their mind. So mind is structured this way, conditioned this way, but you are doing the reconditioning, can attain the supreme abode by just surrendering unto my will with loving devotion, O Arjun. So in other words, it's not a gender he's talking about. He's talking about the state of mind. Remember that. Because a lot of people, they misunderstand this verse and they say, Lord Krishna said, women, otherwise they can't. No, it's not that. Then it should be very easy for the wise and devout sages to attain the supreme being. So now he's encouraging Arjuna that Arjuna, if somebody's mind is not directed towards me, and if they direct it towards me and they attain the supremehood, but yours is already there somewhat. Therefore, having obtained this joyless and transitory human life, one should always worship me with loving devotion. And at the end, he says, always think of me. Be devoted to me. Worship me and bow down to me. Thus uniting yourself with me by setting me as the supreme goal and the sole refuge, you shall certainly come to me. So this is like in the end, it's a summary of this chapter. So, man mana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mam vaishyasi yuktevam atmanam matparayana. So this is how we are supposed to worship God. It's not only for a few minutes morning and evening, or here and there, or only when we are in a a tough situation, always think of me. Be devoted to me. Again, devotion means love. Worship me. And what do we do when we worship God? We are talking to God in worship. We are thanking God. The highest form of worship is gratitude. God, you have given us so much. Instead of thinking that, always saying, give me, give me, give me, be thankful to God. There is so much He has given it to us. So, and bow down to me, that means surrendering to God. Thus uniting yourself with me by setting me as a supreme goal. There are several short-term goals we have. The things which we do could be from a cleaning of the house, or the paying the bills, taking care of the body, taking care of the family. Those are all short-term goals. So students, it could be a passing that exam. Or a person who's working, finishing up that project. Several goals we all have. But he says, supreme goal. And supreme goal is what? Becoming one with Him. Not coming back here again and again and again, the way we have been doing. So he says, and the sole refuge. We do take refuge in several things, but sole refuge only in God. He says, you shall certainly come to me. So this is the end of this chapter, 9th chapter. And the next chapter is Vibhuti Yoga, because Arjuna is going to ask that you say you are everywhere, but I really don't see you. Where are you? Can you tell me where you are? Because Lord Krishna several times he said, everywhere I am. He says, I really don't see you. So that's why in the next chapter, Lord Krishna is going to give several examples to Arjuna, and through Arjuna to us also, where we can see God. At least practice in one of them. If not everywhere, just one of them. Then when we can see in one, then we can see it all also, hopefully. Okay, so we'll see a lot of examples, and most of the examples are from the Vedic literature, Puranas also. Some we are familiar with, some examples we are not familiar with. So I will try to explain any question you have, any term you have a question on. So I'll try my best, okay? So any question on this chapter, Rajavidya, Rajaguhya Yoga? We can do a little discussion now. To anybody?
First, I have a question.
Okay, Jyoti.
Go ahead, Kim.
No, you go first, please.
Okay, the title of this chapter, Rajaguhya Yoga. Rajavidya, I understand. Rajaguhya. What is the word guhya?
Who means secret, mystery.
Secret, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guhya means secret, okay.
Guhu, okay. Guhu word is like a cave. Cave is called a guhu also.
Okay.
So it's just like
that makes a lot of sense.
Not everybody is familiar with it. It's so that doesn't mean we got to keep it a secret. It's just a very, people are not paying much attention to it.
Okay.
Is that the same gu as in guru, like for bringing from darkness?
No. Guhu is different than guru.
Yeah, but the gu is not the same.
No, guru word is see, a guru word is made up of two words, gu and ru. Ru means a remover, gu means the ignorance. So remover of the ignorance is the guru. Guhu is it's like something secret, something profound, something which is not perceptible to our senses. That is guh. So that's why, see, just like a body we can see, but our mind we can't. It is but mind is subtler than the body. And intellect is even subtler than the mind. And what is subtler than the intellect? The Atma. So he's talking about that, and he's talking about God. who's even subtler than the subtlest. So in that sense, he says, it's a Rajavidya and Rajaguhya.
Okay.
Not
Thank
a
you.
Guru, but a Guhya. Okay. So anybody else? Kim, what was your question?
In the beginning, Lord Krishna is talking about how he's independent of us. But when I was studying from your notebook, I found a quote from the Bhagavatam. It says, "Although I am supremely independent, yet I become enslaved by my devotees. They are very dear to me. I become indebted to them for their love." So can you please explain what that means?
Yeah, because a devotee, when a devotee has surrendered, even the God himself is all independent. But when he sees that my devotee loves me more than anything else, then he says, I become indebted. It's like a relationship has developed. That doesn't mean that God cannot live without that devotee. But devotee is the one who has really surrendered to God. So God says that in certain Bhakti scriptures that I am indebted to my devotees. It's almost like a child. A parent is living beautifully without a child. But child shows so much love for the parent. That parent says, I'm indebted to you in that sense.
But I guess I was confused because he says, I become enslaved by my devotees. I know it's a bad translation.
Enslaved really means God doesn't have to appear in the form. And he even appears because that love brings him down on this earthly world also. It's almost like there is a story, very common story in India, that there was the man who didn't know much about the Vedas or the mantras, uneducated person, but he would go to the temple every day. And the priest over there will do the mantras and he'll sit over there for some time and come home. The time came when he became little old, he couldn't go to the temple. And he said, Panditji, can you give me that Krishna so that I can take it home and I can worship? The priest said, you really don't know the language. You don't know the ways. You cannot do it. He said, no, I want to. Priest said, no, you cannot. But this guy, he insisted. So this priest became, he just wanted to get rid of him. He just picked up a little stone and he said, just take this. This is a Krishna for you. He said, really? This is Krishna for me? He took the Krishna home. And this is a true story, by the way. He carried that stone home, jumping with joy that I have got my own Krishna. Because I cannot go to the temple every day, I'm too old. So he just established that Krishna, the way he could do that, the way the priest did. He didn't know the mantras, but he just wanted to put it over there. And this is another thing he asked, priest, what should I do? He said, whatever you eat, give it to this. So he said, okay, I'm going to get rid of him. Hopefully he won't come back again. So he brought that, put it in the altar, and he was a poor man, made 2 chapatis. He said, okay, all right, I'll just give 1 chapati to Krishna and 1 I'll eat. So he put 1 chapati in front of that stone, 1 in front of him. He said, you eat first, then I'll eat. But he believed that that was Krishna. Several hours were gone by. The chapatis were sitting there. He said, until you eat it, I'm not going to eat. Okay, all right. Maybe you're mad at me. I'm giving you only 1. Take mine also. I will not have any. You take both. Still, he just kept sitting over there. He kept sitting, waiting for the Lord to eat those chapatis for 3 days and nights. That kind of a devotion, that kind of a love, that kind of a resolution, which Lord Krishna talks about. Lord Krishna appeared. Not only ate those chapatis, took this man also. to his place. So that kind of a devotion. So that is the enslavement. But we have to love God first. With that kind of intensity, with that kind of a faith. So these stories, when we read in different scriptures, enslavement means love for God. God says, yeah, I am a slave. In Sanskrit or in Hindi, it's called vash. Like people who know Hindi, you know that भगवान कहते हैं, भगवान भगत के वश में हो जाते हैं. ऐसे भगत के. Not, he doesn't become a slave of Duryodhana, but he became a slave of Arjuna. He became a slave of Vidur and Vidur's wife. Remember that story? Vidur's wife kept feeding the banana peels and throwing away the bananas. And what did Lord Krishna do? He kept eating bananas. Will we do that? If somebody is feeding us bananas, banana peels, we will scream at them. And God ate bananas, peels. That is enslavement, because what he saw, only the love in Vidur's wife. With the love, she was feeding. The same way when Ram came, he was in the jungles. There was a devotee, her name is Shabri. She was waiting because her guru said that Lord will come over here. Because gurus or those kind of saints, they can see the past and the present, the future also. He said in future, Lord Ram is going to come. She just kept waiting. She had a small hut in the middle of the forest. Every morning she'll get up and she'll clean the hut, the pathways over here, which was going towards the forest. And she'll pick up some berries from the bushes and she'll wait for Lord Ram. And one day Lord Ram came. And when Lord Ram came, she was so much in love with Lord Ram. She just wanted to make sure that the berries she's feeding, they are sweet. She'll take a bite on the berry and then feed him. What did he do? He did not say that it's already bitten by you. He ate it. And Lakshman on the other hand, so she'll offer him also. He just kept throwing it on the side. But Lord Ram just ate all those berries which were eaten. So that's an enslavement by the devotees of God. Okay? So what we need to do is cultivate our love to that level. One-pointed, intense love only for God through doing our duties. That's what in this chapter he said. No matter what you do, it's not that we have to only do the rituals. No matter what we do, whatever form of work we have, whatever we are eating, wherever we are going, no matter what it is, just think that you are doing it for God. And God alone. Okay, does it make sense, Kim?
Yes, it's Rajaguhya.
Yeah, it is a guhya, definitely. It's definitely guhya. It doesn't make sense to our. It doesn't make sense to our logical mind. Okay, see, logical mind is not a guha mind. Logical mind is a very worldly mind. It wants to dissect this world, this prakriti. Guha mind is the one which wants to merge into God. Mike? Yeah. Okay. So in Sanskrit, they call it the intellect. See, mind word is used for the intellect also. Mind, two kinds, sharp and subtle. The sharp intellect In Sanskrit, it's called Kushagra Buddhi. Sharp intellect pierces into this Prakriti, the nature. We can understand the mysteries of this nature. And that's where the logic comes into picture. But this Guha is for the subtle. Guha. And that is called Suksham Buddhi. Okay? So we need a Suksham Buddhi to understand the mysteries of God. In order to be successful in this worldly sphere, we need a sharp intellect. Both have their place. Both are good. Both are needed. But in order to reach to the heights of the spirituality, we need a Guha, the subtle. Okay? So it's like we are all in a work in progress. We should not get disheartened. We should just understand this. Yeah, he's talking about a very high level of achievement. But with faith, slowly we are going to have faith in yourself. Okay? We'll experience the way. See, Arjuna showed a lot of faith. Arjuna showed a lot of, he must have done a lot of practice before. But now he had a faith also. And then he showed a lot of curiosity also. In the next chapter, we'll see. Or a chapter after that. Okay. So anybody else? Or Kim, if you have any question. Jonathan, you do. Okay, next week, we are not going to have this class. I got to perform an engagement ceremony around this time. So we'll have only first 2 classes. So this class, I'll have to skip next week. Okay. So